There's a narrative floating around the NBA right now that super teams are dead. And in response to that, I'd just say that we're just getting started here at Sports Ethos. Welcome to the NBA Today podcast, a Sports Ethos presentation hosted by yours truly, Aaron Bruski, FSWA Hall of Famer Steve Dr. A. Alexander. And in his introductory episode as an official member of the show, the one, the only inventor of fantasy basketball, Rick Kamla. You can follow these guys at Dr. A and at Rick Kamla Sports. That's DOCKTORA. Doc can't do anything normal with his name on Twitter. And Rick Kamla Sports, you can follow me at Aaron Bruski as well. Today, we're going to get right to work on the fantasy side. And for those of you who are first-time listeners or folks that are just checking back in, taking a quick break from our 30-team trip around the NBA, talking with local experts and beat writers so we can both celebrate this inaugural episode as well as dig deeper into some fantasy angles before we start back up collecting intel. So we got a lot to talk about here, and before we get started, let's quickly give a shout out to our sponsor. BetOnline is the world's most trusted betting platform, your number one source for all things football. BetOnline has every stat, every matchup, even live odds and spreads to bet on during the games. Think you know your stuff? Get in on our $200,000 mega contest and pick 5 games against the spread every week for your chance at weekly prizes and a share of $200,000. The game's over. Head on over to our online casino and get in a game of blackjack or poker or unwind with one of over 150 slots. Head to the website today to get into the action. Bet online. The game starts here. So let's bring in Doc to start. Now the contracts are all inked and Kamla's in the house. Our listeners, of course, know his accolades covering fantasy and the NBA at large. What's something you've learned about Rick that listeners may not know about either the way he approaches the business of covering the NBA and fantasy, or even something about the way he plays the game of fantasy? And if nothing else comes to mind, you guys can just dish on whatever the hell you guys were doing in the early 2000s as roommates.
Dude, there's so much I could say here. I need to be careful. I'm going to go with Rick. Rick has a set of bongo drums that travel with him everywhere he goes. I'm guessing if he goes on vacation, the bongos go with him. He's a drum circle guy. He's a jammer, and he loves the disco biscuits. I'm gonna leave it at that.
Bru, do you know who the disco biscuits are? Have you ever heard of them?
My mind's spinning. What are the disco biscuits?
All right, so they're a jam band. You know, like Grateful Dead, Fish, Widespread Panic. You've heard of those bands, right?
Oh yeah.
So the Disco Biscuits, to me, they're the best of them all. They're Grateful Dead meets techno. It's electronic. It's a lot of people say, I had a buddy in Minnesota. I'm seeing the Disco Biscuit, or I saw the Disco Biscuits last night. He said, what song did they play? All right, so that's pretty funny, right? Like they just play one that goes into the other. But I'm friendly with the band, and I've been that way, and they've been my favorite band for a long time, man. But they're a jam band, cut from the cloth of the Grateful Dead. But it is such an honor to be here with you guys, man. The inaugural, the official maiden voyage here with us, the Dream Team on Sports Ethos. I'm psyched, man.
I have one more quick Rick story. Rick and I and the owner of the local seafood joint in town, we were all going to a Hawks game together. And we get in the car. Rick's driving. We get in the car. And he's got Black Sabbath playing at like full volume. So like we couldn't talk to each other. And he looks in the back. It's like, hey man, do you like Sabbath? And my buddy's like, uh-huh. And we listen to Sabbath at full blast all the way to Atlanta. It was like an hour-long trip. Nobody could talk to each other. We were just all looking at each other. And we were just blasting some Sabbath.
I vaguely remember that, Doc. I vaguely remember that. By the way, the drum thing, I did not take my drums on vacation, Doc, but I do have them. They used to be behind me, and a lot of people got on to me about that. So now they're back in the garage, where they're safe and sound. But Bru, I played in a rock and roll band. We were really an Allman Brothers tribute band in Minneapolis. I was in that band for about 5 or 6 years in Minneapolis. And I have no idea where that would have gone, but NBA TV gave me a call, by the grace of God, to come out for a screen test for the NBA TV gig. So I remember going to the next rehearsal with my boys. And I was like, guys, I got bad news. I'm going out to New York. Well, I mean, not bad news, but like for us, the band, I was like, I'm leaving. I'm quitting the band. I'm going out to New York for this NBA TV job. My career is, spiking and launching. And they were all very excited for me, but I had to leave the music career behind, Bru, to get the sports media career on and popping, man. No regrets, just saying.
Yeah, I'm wondering what happened to the band. Did they ever survive that bad news? Did they go on and do anything on their own, or are they just kind of really upset that you left?
I honestly, I got to be honest, I don't know, because I was like shot out of a cannon at that point. Last week and I stayed in touch with them a little bit, but then it just sort of drifts. You know what I mean? I'm in New York, they're in Minnesota. But here's the thing. They were a thriving band before I joined them. And I was a percussionist, singer, songwriter. So they had their 2 guitarists, their bass, and their drums. They had the infrastructure of a band before I came there. And I put an ad in the local, like, Creative Loafing or whatever, like the local, like, industry rag is. And I was the jam master, all one word, just the jam master. And it was, I'm a conga player and a singer songwriter. And I, by the way, was none of that. Okay, I wasn't in a band. I was just kind of screwing around in drum circles, but I put all that out. These dudes bought it. I ended up writing a bunch of songs for the band. We made an album. I came up with the name of the band, High and Tight, and so that was a fun time, man. That was a fun time.
High and Tight. My word. This podcast is great already off the jump. And I wonder, have you ever hooked up with Brian from Guster? You guys, Steve, you guys ever hook these guys up? Or
I don't think so.
No? Oh my God. That seems like a match made in heaven. Bongos, Thunder God. You gotta make that happen. Okay, well, somehow we're gonna make this about fantasy basketball here today. Folks, that's probably the top 2% of stories these guys are allowed to say on air. So maybe over the years we could get you guys to just admit a little bit about what you guys were doing way back in 2000 in the hills of Georgia, right? Hanging out till 6 a.m. doing God knows what. I want to see the bongos in action too. All right. So we got sleepers and busts. Okay, the most popular topic in fantasy hoops, fantasy sports, sleepers and busts will be the topic for the show today. Today we're going to discuss 4 players who finished inside the top 100 and had the biggest jump in regard to their ADP, and then 4 players with an ADP inside the top 25 who ended up lower in the standings, and what led to all of that. So let's jump right into it after Ice Pick in your trivia time.
Bru, do you mean ice pick in your eye?
Is that, what am I saying? Ice Pick in your
in your
eye?
trivia. You're saying ice pick in your trivia.
Oh, well, of course. That makes perfect sense. Words
Because
just
you're
escape me
insane.
sometimes because I am insane, and it's fantasy draft season, and who knows if we're sleeping over here. Ice Pick in your eye.
There you go, buddy.
Trivia. Deep sigh. All right. So right now the score is 16-14. Doc is winning. Controversial as usual. Event that occurred in our last episode where producer Andre Lemos gave Doc the win, despite me nailing the follow-up question to the follow-up question. And that was not great. So I probably kicked off trivia a little too early, but that's what I do over here. Andre checks in. Does Kamla win in the competition, and the 2 losers need to go pay a beer to the winner? If he's in, we'll do win percentage.
Oh,
We'll talk about that.
Lord.
We'll talk about that. We'll work that in here. Kamla, if you want a piece of this competition by win percentage, I think there's some math we can figure out. And again, the winner gets the 2 losers possibly. Right now, it's between Doc and I. If I or he win or lose, the loser has to fly across the country and buy the winner a beer. If you want in, you let us know. Right now, the order for this trivia is going to be Kamla, Doc, and then me. The way that we're going to play it today, we're going to go around the room, and who gets the most right answers out of 4 possible answers wins. Okay, first question's in. Extremely easy question. Name the 4 players with multiple number 1 finishes in the last 20 seasons in 8 cat totals. So the top player in 8 cat totals with multiple number 1 finishes in the last 20 seasons. Kamla gets to go first.
All right. Boy, this, you know what? I'm not going to give up. The name just came to my mind because I may need to use that with one of my other picks. I am going to say, I'm going to give you Nikola Jokic because I think he has finished number one in ACAP rankings at least a couple of times here recently. So I'll give you Nikola Jokic. I'll take some low-hanging fruit here.
All right. That is correct. Nikola Jokic has 4 times won the 8-cat totals. Doc, you're up next.
I will go with Kevin Durant.
All right. Kevin Durant's the name. Kevin Durant, 4 times. That's 8 of the 20 seasons off the board. I'm going to take the next easy one. So that's going to leave this a little bit up for grabs here as we head into the turn. I'm going with James Harden, and I know that's the correct answer. Yep. We got James Harden 4 times as well.
Now it gets interesting. Now we knock the easy ones off the board.
Rick.
All right. I'm gonna go with the name that popped into my brain earlier. I'm not sure about this because I got to kind of go in the Wayback Machine on it. We're going back 20 years here. I'm gonna offer up to Andre Sean Marion.
Now Andre's talking trash. He says we look good to start, as if we're not going to look good the entire show. I mean, for those of you who don't get to see the camera right now, we all look good today.
Barry only did it once. I'm wounded over here. I am wounded. Gut
Andre,
punch. I just got
striking.
shipped. Oh no!
My goodness. Doc, you're up next.
Dude, I'm at a loss here. I'm going to say Dirk Nowitzki.
I got a couple names that are cooking.
He said, "You sure?"
My God.
No, I am not. Oh, ouch.
And Andre likes to let Doc know that that's a 0. That didn't happen at all. Okay. All right. Multiples. Totals. All right, let's just play it safe. LeBron James.
That's what I should have said.
Just one. Yeah, I was worried about that.
Wow.
I was a little worried about that. It felt like he floated around the top, just never could get it all the way done. Rick, I'm scared. I think Rick's got the answer here. Rick, you're up.
My next call, Brew, would have been LeBron. So I'm happy I didn't go with him and get the stymie from Andre. I'm going to go Steph Curry.
That was the one that I had in my back pocket. Curry won.
Yeah.
It was that magical season where he shot 50%.
Come on.
So that's taken right now.
Wow.
We've got, I think, 14 of the 20 seasons off the board. Doc is up. He's got that look about him.
Dwayne Wade.
Wow. That's a very interesting answer.
Yeah.
No, sir.
I figured.
0. So we're going back to 2004. Oh, my goodness. Okay. Kobe Bryant.
Boom. 7.
No, that's just the clock. That's the Giannis clock he
That
puts
was
on
the
me
clock.
every single time. He is indeed one of the 4.
Dang it.
Is that, but only one.
So there's 3 players left. Is that what I'm
There's
hearing?
three seasons left. And so somebody had to have had multiples.
Okay.
And Rick, I believe, is up. I kind of feel like we got to see this out. Sometimes I think we just got to quit because it's so painful. 3 names left, only 1 is right.
Dang it. It's all about the ordering and when you say these guys, because I was going to say Kobe and said Steph. So I made a mistake there. I'm going to give you Tim Duncan.
Oh, that was a name that was floating around. And if you get that,
Give me some TD.
of course. Oh, wow.
0. Oh, I'm totally let down.
Best spur ever, says Andre Lemos.
Best. Woo!
Doc for the win. It's like Andre saw the future and knows that you're going to get this right.
So I've got to get this. Somebody said James Harden already, right?
Yes.
Why is this so hard? This should not be hard for us. Russell Westbrook.
Wow.
Got it, Doc. Oh,
Nope.
0.
0 for Russ.
Oh boy.
This is painful.
This is a good one.
This is a really good one. And 8-cat totals.
The problem is totals. You guys are totals guys. I think Rick and I are like game guys. You guys are totals.
Yes, I am a totals This is really freaking tough. I'm like completely drawing blanks on all of this. Who has been dominant in fantasy?
I thought all those Russell Westbrook triple doubles might
I thought that was a good guess, Doc.
have
I
done
did.
something, but
I thought that was a good guess, especially eliminating the turnovers out of it.
Nah, I don't even have a name. I'm not even gonna fling it out there. We'll go.
I got one more guess. I think the game is done, but I want to throw Giannis out there. Andre, is Giannis? Is he? Did he do it multiple times?
Well, Andre says he's gonna give us a tip, so we'll stipulate that the guess is okay. Do I have any answer? No, I'm gonna go Nemanja Bjelica.
You just wanted to prove that you know how to say his name, Bru. You know what you're doing.
It took a long time for that to happen.
Mike Gallagher taught me how to say Bjelica.
Shout out Mike Gallagher. Okay, we have two bigs and one guard on the table, says Andre.
I mean, I got this, but
is Giannis the other guy or not?
I'm guessing no. I think we probably would have heard about that by now.
How about Shaq? Is Shaq the other guy?
Ooh, that's real interesting. But would he have played enough in 2004 to have pulled that off?
I don't even understand what Andre's doing in this.
Is it Luka?
I'm going to
He
go
says
with,
the right answer is the guard. And this guard played with the two other guards, or with two other guards that have been mentioned. So this is the hint. The answer is a guard, and he played with two of the other guards, and Rick is on the clock. Two of the other guards mentioned in this top.
I got up. Rick's had like 7 guesses.
I have. I
this
have.
is just bogus.
I went Shaq. I went Giannis. So yes, skip me by if those qualify as my guess.
No. You're on the clock, Rick. Go.
Okay. Played with those guys. Wait a minute. Is it Chris Paul?
Oh boy. I think you got it.
He said a point guard.
Oh, a point.
Well, I didn't see that, but I will say this. His clue led me to Chris Paul. I will say that. So if you don't want to honor the answer, go ahead. I didn't see a point guard on there, but when he said played with those guys, and I kind of did the whole stacking.
Whoever Andre wants to win trivia that day wins trivia. Like it
is like that, isn't it?
It's ice pick in your eye.
No way. You guys are going David Stern, Chris Paul trade veto on Andre right now? Is that what you're really doing?
Absolutely.
Here?
Look, if he wants somebody to win, it happens.
You'll learn, young.
Yes, you'll see how this works and what we go through here on a daily basis with this guy. Rick wins. We are bad losers, says Andre. Rick, I admit it.
Wins.
That was controversial. But I thought I won last week, and so I didn't. So maybe it all balances out.
All right, we'll have to see how the record keeping goes.
It all buff.
Oh my God. All right, fantasy talk. The way that this is going to go is a little bit interesting. We got 3 of us here to chat about this stuff, and we're going to kind of go round robin as much as we can with this. But the first name on the list that I can see here is Cam Johnson. He had an ADP of 73 last season, and he finished with that's a 145 rank. And if we could get some clarifications, I believe these are per game ranks. That's actually really low if that's a per game rank for Cam Johnson. Looks like we're going with an order of Doc, myself, and Kamla. So what were the factors that you thought led to Cam, falling so much? And then what do you expect to see heading into this season?
I don't really know. I mean, the Nets are such a mess. And if he couldn't go off last year, I don't know what makes us think he's going to go off this year. Mikal Bridges was sort of the focal point of that team. He's gone. But Cam reminds me of Patrick. Is it Pat Williams in Chicago? It reminds me of that dude. Like, I keep hearing about it. I keep thinking it's coming, and it just never does. So I'm going bust with Cam Johnson. I
Yeah,
like him. I want to like him, but I got to see it first.
Yeah, something was rotten in the water in Brooklyn last season. Probably about a third of the way through, you just saw people just start to check out mentally, and that's one of the factors. Obviously, injuries and just lack of momentum for Cam, I think, have sort of piled up. Something about the way he plays the game too. Somebody needs to teach that guy how to fall. It feels like he's falling on his head or his shoulders, or just crashing down way too hard at too many times during the game, and then as far as this upcoming season goes, I mean, it's kind of one of these things. It's like he's got to have a good season at some point. So there's that level of intrigue there for me, but there's all sorts of risks. So I don't know. What do you think, Kamla? What you got?
I think he's overrated. I don't think Cam Johnson's that good of a basketball player. He makes three balls, and that's it. He doesn't dime. Last year was his career high at 2.4. He doesn't rebound. His career high is 4.4. He doesn't bring the steal or block goodies. He was 1.2 steals 2 years ago. Last year, he was 1.1 stocks. So he's 0.3 blocks, 0.8 steals. Where do I vomit? Okay, like no, like you're dead to me at a 1.1 stock rate. 13.4 points on that Nets team. What? He was 2.4 threes, and he's a 39% three-point banger. But he's a 44% field goal percentage guy for his career. I think he's overrated. I just don't think he's that good of a player. I will not be looking to get Cam Johnson in any of my leagues. And you build in the Tank Cooper flag factor for the Nets late in the year. And so he's not just a bust. I won't even rank him. Like when I don't, you guys know that there's just guys I'm tuned out on, and I don't even rank them because it just clutters up my list, and it's needless time. I already know he's vetted, and he's vetted the negative way.
I kind of feel like Cam Johnson is one of those guys that is a good basketball player in real life. He is like the fifth guy, like the glue guy on a really good team. Like if Cam Johnson is starting for a really good team, I think he's a good guy to have out there. But fantasy wise and being on a bad team, it just doesn't work.
No. And they're going to be bad again this season. So a really interesting ranking, and probably a guy will go ahead of what his expectation is going to be. Let's go to the sleeper, one of the sleepers of the year last year, Alex Caruso. ADP 138, basically not getting drafted, finishes with a rank of 57. So Cam, what do you think caused all of that? Why did we all miss, so to speak, on him last season? And then what do you expect from this upcoming year?
Wow, great question and setup. Zach LaVine going out and Patrick Williams going out spiked and birthed Alex Caruso as a fantasy player. If Pat Williams had been healthy and strong, and if Zach LaVine, I think it was a foot injury, or I can't even remember at this point, but that injury that ended his season, the spike of Alex Caruso into 10 points, 4 rebounds, 4 assists, 1-1-1. And he was basically 2 threes per game with 1 block and 1 steal. Like, you can use that. That's valuable. It's not league winning, but in a deep league like that, we need to be good on the margins, right? And so if, like, your worst player is Alex Caruso at 10, 4, 4, 1, 1 with 2 threes per game, he almost shot 50% from the field, you're doing something. Bru, I have currently Alex Caruso in the Cam Dynasty, my fantasy basketball league. He helped me win a chip last year because of the blocks. Okay, like he's a guard, 10, 4, and 4, a little over a steal, 2 threes per game. That's all pretty common stuff. But when you add in the 1 block per game, he was one of my best sources for blocks and a very valuable guy for me. And there would be times when I would start him over like better guys, like bigger names, because I was like, I need a block tonight. Maybe it's a Saturday or a Sunday and I'm in like a tie game. It's 20-19 in the block category. I need some blocks here. Boom, I'd put Caruso in my lineup. I do have a decision to make, Bru, because we rock 15 players, and a lot of us have like extra guys in our IR at the end of the year, right? So I'm going to have to vet that and accordion my team a little bit to fit under the 15 roster guideline before the draft. And Caruso is one of those guys. So I'm actually going to be looking to trade Caruso going into the season. I'm looking to bundle like 3 guys for 1 megastar, right? And I've got my eye on a couple of guys in this league, maybe an SGA, maybe a Booker, where maybe I go like a Jamal Murray, a Malik Monk, and an Alex Caruso and like really load up, because I'm going to be in a position where I have to drop some of these guys, Brew, if I don't trade them off. So as soon as fantasy football draft season is over, I'm going to turn the page towards that and start working on that.
Yeah, in one of our Sports Ethos leagues, I'm having the same exact issue. I'm going to have to drop like 3 quality players if I don't get them unloaded by the deadline. And of course, it's so difficult to pull off these 2-for-1 and 3-for-1 trades. Everybody always wants the one. Nobody wants to drop their guys. Even if you give them a fair offer, it feels like you got to give them a 10% over market offer to get people to move off of their guys. And that's its own episode. And again, folks, you're getting a good insight as to why he's both the inventor of fantasy basketball and one of the most competitive fantasy basketball players on the planet. Because, I mean, you're just running Alex Caruso out there and sneaking past that blocks total for your opponent every single week. And one of the things about him that was super interesting is I think everybody bet against him almost all season long. He's on the injury report every single game, it feels like. And then he just guts it out. He plays his 27 minutes. He's a match made in heaven with Billy Donovan. And all of those injuries led to just this constant Alex Caruso faucet of value. And now he goes to OKC, and you're going to get off the train at the right time.
Yeah, because Brew, Antonio Daniels, my partner on Give and Go, we talked about Hartenstein and who starts, who finishes, right? And this is very important stuff. It's a reality conversation, but it can be very well applied to fantasy. So when Caruso went there, I'm like, oh, he's starting, right? And so you have probably the best starting 5 in the West with him and Dort and SGA and Chet and J-Dub. Come on. By the way, I think Oklahoma City is going to win the West and go to the NBA Finals, okay? That's how bullish I am on that team. And I would not be saying that without the Caruso addition and without the Hartenstein addition. But AD told me, Brew, name me a guy that is signed to a team for $29 million a year, and he comes off the bench right away. And I was like, boy, you got me there. So Hartenstein probably was signed to start, which means Caruso will be their 6th man. But Caruso's going to finish games. But here's the problem. If you're starting, you're more likely to play 28 to 30 minutes, where if you're a bench guy and they've got Wiggins and they've got Cason Wallace and they've got Isaiah Joe and Kenrick Williams, okay? And so now if you get foul trouble, like, I just think coming off the bench will drop his minutes to a point that we're not going to like in fantasy basketball. And last year he was right around 30 minutes a game. And as that got to 10, 4, and 4. If Alex Caruso is playing, 25 minutes a game, Brew, and you know this, now we're talking about 8.8 points, 3.8 rebounds, 3.5 assists. And that's not really it, right? And so then he's going to have a hard time getting to a block a game. He's going to have a hard time getting to 2 threes per game because the minutes are going to be dropped down just by that little margin that's going to drop him from a viable fantasy player to probably a waiver wire guy. So that's why I'm looking to sell high on Caruso this offseason.
And that's kind of why everybody passed on him last year, is they probably didn't think he's getting 27 or 30 minutes, and they probably didn't think he was getting up and over the cut line, but he was absolutely getting up and over the cut line to the tune of a early mid-round value. And I'll be watching myself, just to see if he could do it in 22 to 25 minutes in that sort of 6-man role over there. That team's just going to be phenomenal all season. They're going to just completely roll over teams in the West, and they don't even know what their ceiling is yet, how they mix and match the minutes there. Isaiah Hartenstein in particular, I mean, you're right. I mean, who gets paid like that to come off the bench? And they have so many good players that they could just mix and match. It's going to be fascinating. Doc's having some technical opinions?
No, Doc is here.
Oh,
Doc's ready to roll, bro.
Oh, Doc, by all means, what do you think of Alex Caruso? You've been a big Alex Caruso guy pretty much for a good solid year now, I think. What are you doing with him this season in OKC?
For a good solid year, yeah. I do like Alex Caruso quite a bit. I am a little weary, though, because he's like the Josh Giddey moved to Chicago is high profile. The Alex Caruso moved to OKC, high profile. Like people know that happened, and people know mainly because people like us talk about all the time that this guy hits a three and gets a steal and a block every single night. So I think he's probably going to be a little bit overvalued. I'm probably, if he falls to me at the right spot, I have no problem taking Alex Caruso, but I'm not going to reach to get him. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah, I know what you're saying. I think this next player that we're going to talk about here is going to really highlight the divide between the per game guys in this broadcast and the totals guy in this broadcast. Mikal Bridges, ADP 21, rank 88. That's a per game rank, folks. I think Mikal is easy to dunk on because there was so much hype. I mean, I had him ranked so high in the Brewski 150. Again, that's a totals ranking system, so it's not the per game ranking system, so completely different conversation. But I mean, he fell flat on his face, I thought, last season. And I thought the weirdest part is he'd always been a guy that everybody thought played hard, did the right things on the floor. He started that pristine reputation, plays in every game. And he just looked like he was pouting the last half of the season. So what do you think it was last year, Cam? And where do we go from here this upcoming season for him, for Mikal?
Yeah, I think you nailed it on the head. It was tough to show up to work every day for him, and especially coming from the Phoenix program where you're in the championship fast lane, you're in the finals, and then you go to Brooklyn and, there's no Durant, no Kyrie, no Harden, and it's just the cupboard is bare. When he was traded from Phoenix to Brooklyn, and this is what created all the hype going into last year, in how many games was it? 27 games, okay? He scored 26 points per game, 4.5 rebounds, almost 3 assists. He gave you a steal per game, and he's probably at about 3 threes, 2.5 threes for that 26 PPG, shot 47%. But that was in a 27-game sample size where the Nets were still, a relevant team, playing tournament-ish and all that kind of stuff. And so then the bottom falls out, and you're like, okay, I just have to show up to work and punch the clock. And so you see it a lot. Like we were talking last week about baseball players. I don't want to pick up a guy on a dead team. I want to pick up guys on teams that are in the wild card race. And every single at bat, every single pitch is a big deal because it just raises the level of play. And so we can apply this to any sport. In basketball, Mikal Bridges is going to be activated this year. Now, the problem is the sacrifice that's going to be necessary. Brunson's going to score 25 plus a game. Julius Randle, in my opinion, is going to be around a 20, 10, and 5 guy like he always is. Mikal Bridges is the new guy on the block. He's not going to come in big boy, the rotation and the pecking order. He's going to fit in probably as their third guy, bringing 3 and D at a very high level. OG Anunoby will be the fourth guy. Mitchell Robinson, obviously, is going to be a putback guy, a garbage man, an offensive rebound guy, a lob threat. And Dante and Josh Hart are going to have to come off the bench, and their value is going to go bye-bye, all right? So that's how I look at the New York Knicks. I am not big on Mikal Bridges this year in fantasy basketball. I love him in reality. By the way, it's just kind of coincidence that we're talking Knicks and Thunder. I think the finals next year is going to be Knicks and Thunder. Just putting that out there on the reality tip for you all. I love their rosters. I love their top players. I love the love fest within the teams. I could go on and on and on. But I love the get for New York, Mikal Bridges, knowing that you were going to get priced out of the Isaiah Hartenstein market. They could only go, I think it was $18 million per year. Those guys knew that they were going to lose Hartenstein. They knew somebody was going to come bigger than that. And OKC went way bigger than that. So they said, cool, we're going to trade for Mikal Bridges, knowing that Hartenstein's going to leave us, and we're just going to go in a different way. We're going to zig when they zag. So from a reality point, Brew, I love it for the Knicks. From a fantasy perspective, I'm going to let other people take Mikal Bridges.
I'm going to spin this Doc's way real quick, but a couple of things. We had Tommy Beer, who covers the Knicks, a couple episodes back. Prior to the even start of the episode, I basically in my open said, this New York Knicks team has the chance to be one of the greatest New York sports teams of all time with the way they are set up. They're all grinders. Tom Thibodeau looks like he was born on a New York subway or something. It's just basically they're just tough, gritty, underdogs, and they're all overachieving. And if that team, which I'm on board with your New York Knicks in the final pick. I haven't made it officially. I want to kind of look at the board a little bit more. I definitely would be betting that in Vegas. They are absolutely that team. But it was interesting that during that interview, what I think might be the fulcrum for the fantasy value, because Julius Randle is going to suck the life out of that thing. Like it's nobody's business, is do they play Randle at center? And it feels like Tibbs has been reluctant to do that because he's a defense first guy, and putting Randle back there at center is almost sacrilegious. But offensively, it makes them extraordinarily interesting, and it opens up minutes for all these guys that need minutes. But Doc, what do you think about Mikal Bridges? Where are you targeting him this upcoming season?
Well, first of all, you all got me fired up about my finals prediction, and I'm going Boston, Oklahoma City. I've got the Thunder winning it all. I don't know how the Knicks are going to get there without a center. And yes, Mitchell Robinson is their center. He's in there, but I mean, are we going to get 30, 35 games out of that guy? And then we got Precious Achua and Jericho Sims. Like, I'm not feeling that. I'm also curious as to what Julius Randle is going to do to this thing. And then as far as Mikal Bridges and his fantasy value go, there's so many mouths to feed on this team. Like, I'm even a little concerned about Jalen Brunson, who is untouchable. So no, I'm not messing with Mikal Bridges. There's too many guys. DiVincenzo and Hart coming off the bench. Possibly there's Brunson and Bridges and Anunoby and Julius Randle and Mitchell Robinson. Like, there's too much going on that I'm worried about all of them. Like, I'm not banking on the Knicks in fantasy at all.
Yeah, the other angle here is what can the Knicks do to go get a center halfway through the season? You know, you could be looking at somebody like Robert Williams, Clint Capella, possibly. You know, if they can round that position out as they get into the offseason. And of course, I'm a big fan of them somehow trading Julius Randle, but I don't know if that's going to be able to happen. And we'll see how that all goes down.
If the Knicks get Clint Capella, look out. I mean, then they are a freaking force.
And there's going to be a lot of teams, I don't know, that can compete in the trade market to block them. I think that little chess game is going to be super interesting. But let's go back to a guy you just mentioned a second ago, Dante DiVincenzo, one of the best waiver wire pickups of the year last year, ADP of 134, 77 rank in per game when it was all said and done. So, Doc, you just kind of alluded to it, I think. I know, Rick, you said something earlier as well. What would you do with him in a draft? Are you even taking him, or are you just simply looking at him in the late round?
Well, I think he was a waiver wire guy last year. Like, I think I got him off the wire, and I loved him so much. He was so fun. And having Dante DiVincenzo on your fantasy team last year was trendy, it was hip, it was fun, it was cool. And I think he's a good player. So I'm good with Dante, but his name is going to be bigger than his game this year. And again, I already talked about it with Mikal. There's too many mouths to feed, man. I just don't see how the fact that DiVincenzo was 77 last year seems odd to me. Like, it felt like he was better than that. So if that's the best we got, which tells me like 7th round guy, he's going to go before that in most leagues. I'm out.
Yeah, I think producer Andre Lemos would be happy to hear that. He went to a dog shelter the other day and just cleared out an entire row of dogs. It brought him in. I don't know exactly what he's doing with them, but he's apparently a big dog guy trying to help dogs throughout the, wherever he lives. I don't know where he lives, but he's doing a good job with that. You mentioned he's cool, Doc. Is he cool enough, Rick, for you to stick him at the end of your bench on a fantasy squad?
Yeah, it's tough though. I mean, I'll put it this way. I will not be targeting Dante DiVincenzo because I think there's more gravitational pull downward than there is like helium, which would go up, I believe. I'm not a science guy. I think I got that right. Last year, we're talking about a career year. We're talking about the best year he's ever going to have. All right. He set the record, the New York Knicks record for 3 balls in a season. Okay. That's pretty heady stuff. And doing that, he averaged 15.5 points per game. Now, to Doc's point about being 77, here's why. Very light in the rebounds and the assists. Basically hurt you in those categories. 3.7 rebounds. All right, he's a guard. That's not terrible. 2.7 assists from your guard spot is terrible. 1.3 steals is very solid, of course, and 3.5 threes. Dang, I mean, that's up there with Damian Lillard and Steph Curry. That's obviously a very elite number. 44% was his overall shooting. Bru, you hit it on the head, okay? But it's super conditional. The only way that Dante DiVincenzo has value that we're excited about or moderately excited about is if Julius Randle plays the 5. And I think Tibbs has to do that more than he's going to want to. And you know, you mentioned it. Tibbs has been very linear with his 4 and his 5 spots. But you had Mitchell Robinson and Isaiah Hartenstein. You had no need to move Julius Randle to the 5 spot. We all remember I'm an Obi Toppin guy. And when Obi Toppin was with the New York Knicks, hitting threes, dunking, and being a splashy player, it was always like, yo, dude, find minutes for Obi at the 5. Get creative, Tibbs. He never did, okay? He had his 5s, he had his 4s, and that was it. And Toppin was going to back up Randle, and that's why Toppin was traded to the Indiana Pacers. So, but now Tibbs has got to be more creative about this because your strength is your wings and your smalls. And so are you really going to play Jericho Sims over Dante DiVincenzo? I mean, he might, but I don't agree with that. And Precious Achiuwa, I like him. I'm very happy that the Knicks re-signed him, but he's 6'8", all right? And he's a backup 5? No, he's really a 4. And so they're very weird at the 5 position. We all acknowledge that. But it's conditional with that. And we're talking about a very stubborn, set-in-his-ways coach that's going to have to make a major paradigm shift, playing Randle at the 5 more to get Dante on the wood. And even at that point, Dante is going to be in competition with Josh Hart to get on the court with Randle, with OG, with Mikal, with Brunson, okay? So to me, there's way more cons than pros with Dante DiVincenzo. So he is a fade for me this year, guys.
Yeah, it's real tough because he is like best friends with Hart and best friends with Jalen Brunson, and they might even just lobby for him to get on the court more if he's not getting on the court. And for Tibbs, he is that guy that just never, ever, ever, ever changes. His relationship with Julius Randle is an interesting one because he's a big Randle guy. Maybe he changes here because he's like, this is the only way I can keep you on the floor and keep you in an effective position and keep your standing within the team nice and high. I'm sure the New York Knicks want his standing nice and high. And the last thing on DiVincenzo that's super interesting is, you know, this Knicks team's going to need 3-point shooting. And he is the one guy who can catch and release. You know, he will be able to fire away from deep. And so you're taking that guy off the floor for a bunch of guys who aren't necessarily great shooters, but he does appear to be the odd man out. So it's a super interesting fantasy conversation. I might have a soft spot in my heart, and I might fire away in the last pick or the late rounds for Dante DiVincenzo, but we'll see. Now, the big name on the board right here is a bust from last season, but he's a boom guy this season. It's Josh Giddey. He had an ADP of 62 last season. He finished with a rank of 118. Pretty sure that's a 9-cat rank, but we should get some clarification on that. Cam, you get to go first here. So what do you think? I mean, how off court just fit in OKC, you know, moving on, you know, other guys being better than him. What's the story with him last season? And then are you going to try to exceed the hype and try to grab him when everybody's going for Josh Giddey this season?
Great setup again, man. Do you guys remember when Mike D'Antoni said to James Harden, you're going to be the point guard? And James Harden was a 2. He was a 2 in OKC. He was a 2 in Houston. And Mike D'Antoni got there and he was like, no. You're on the ball. You're my point guard. Immediately, James Harden won MVP. Check this out. Mark Daigneault went D'Antoni last year with SGA. 2 years ago, Giddey was the 1, SGA was the 2, and it was blended. But it was very well defined last year. SGA, ball in your hand. You're the guy. Go get him. You're our lead guard. You're our Harden circa the D'Antoni days. And Josh Giddey then was a man without a role. Josh Giddey, and you guys know this, he has to have the ball in his hands. You watched him play with Australia in the Olympics, had the ball in his hands. He was one of the best players in the Olympics. He was absolutely fantastic. But that's, he's the Michael Jordan of the Australia national team. He will not be the Michael Jordan of any of these teams in the NBA. But we're talking about Josh Giddey, not a shooter, and a guy that needs the ball in his hands to be effective. And they put him in the corner and put him in the dunker spot. You want to talk about a woeful fit? My goodness. I was screaming all year last year, they need to start Isaiah Joe and just give up on this Josh Giddey thing. And in the playoffs, they ultimately did that. And so the writing was on the wall for Giddey to be on the move. I love the move to Chicago because he's going to get the ball back in his hands. Adrian Wojnarowski reported that, and he's getting that straight probably from Arturas Karnisovas. So that's what they're going to do. But you have Kobe White. You have Zach LaVine. You have Nikola Vucevic. They just paid Patrick Williams. I don't know why they bid against themselves on Patrick Williams. Nobody in the league was going $90 million on that guy. I mean, nobody, but they did. Anyway, they just paid him. He'll be taking 10, 11 shots a game, scoring around, double digits. So is Giddey going to spike to 17, 6, and 8? He's got a much better chance of it now than he did in OKC, but Kobe White's not going anywhere. LaVine's not going anywhere. Vooch is still going to be around a 20 and 10 big. So I don't know, man. Like maybe for Giddey, it's 13, 5, and 6. I'm definitely more intrigued in him with the Bulls than I would be with OKC. But he's light in the steal category. He's light in the 3 category. And so ultimately, I'm probably going to let some other people jump ahead of me and take him.
Interesting. Doc, I think he's borderline one of your guys. And I'm sorry if I misquoted you there. Are you going to be reaching for Giddey this season?
He's absolutely one of my guys. I'm all in. And I think a lot of it hinges on what Rick was talking about. Rick said Zach LaVine's not going anywhere. I'm also not sure Zach LaVine is going on the court. So to me, it's all about Zach LaVine. If LaVine's there, Giddey will have a solid year. If LaVine is not there, Giddey's going to be the man. I'm just feeling that this new home, new team, new life. I feel like Giddey, everything's in place for him to just put last year in the rearview mirror and go off. So I'm buying. I am in.
We had Julia Poe from the Chicago Tribune on last week. She said that the team says he's healthy and that all indications are that Zach LaVine is healthy, but that they have not been straightforward in the past. A big caveat there at the end of that discussion. And if he goes down, yeah, absolutely. Josh Giddey could go nuts. But I think people are going to be drafting him in like the 5th round, 4th round. I mean, you're paying a pretty penny to get a guy that's pretty likely to break even for you. Maybe there's some safety in that. Maybe he's not an injury risk. So that's a really interesting player to try to target. As we always have to ask, should we be getting on top of the hype train and trying to get ahead of it, or we should let other people push ahead? Another guy on that list, I mean, this is the top of that list, is Jalen Johnson, probably one of the best picks in the Brewski 150 of the last 10 years. We rated him at 75 last season, so the fact that he went off was great. And now he's probably a late 2nd round pick, if I had to guess, possibly sliding into the early 3rd, but who knows? I mean, he could end up being in the middle of the 2nd round when it's all said and done as the hype train moves along. Bob Rathbun was extraordinarily excited about him, as I think is the rest of the league. So, Doc, what do you think? Is there anything, and we talked about him a lot this year. What do you think is noteworthy about last year's performance? And if there's nothing other than he was awesome and great and, we just got to kind of move on, what do you expect this season? Are you in on Jalen Johnson?
Well, I'm sad he got hurt last year. And he also had to deal with the whole Trey DeJounte situation, trying to have those two guys play together. Didn't really work out that well, but take DeJounte out of the mix. Are you kidding me? Like Trey and Jalen they're the guys, man. And I'm all about Trey. Like, imagine getting like Trey and James Harden. If you're picking 12, you get 12 and 13. You get Trey and James Harden, and then you come back and you end up with Jalen Johnson on your team. Like I'm so excited. I think he's going to be. He's so young, and we haven't even really seen him. Like, America doesn't know who Jalen Johnson is, and he's going to be much improved this year just because of the age factor and the fact he's got a year under his belt. Like, the future's so bright. Aaron, I'm wearing shades.
And are you going to be spending a second round pick on him?
I might. If I pick at the end of the second round, I might take Jalen. I really would like to have him in the third or fourth, but I think by the time we're all done talking about him for the next 2 or 3 months, he's probably not going to be there in the fourth round. So I'd like to have him in the third. I might take him in late second.
Rick, what do you need to see out of Jalen Johnson to be completely sold that he's going to be a first or second round player for the next few seasons?
I need to see more fantasy gold to get him that high. I need to see like a Sean Marion type of guy where you're hitting me with 2 threes, 2 steals, well over a block to get all the way up there. Look, I'm as high on Jalen Johnson as a lot of people overall. I think he's a fantastic young player. I'm not worried about the injuries last year because I have him in the Cam Dynasty. Thankfully, faithfully, luckily, won that chip without him. I mean, I was very worried about that. He was one of my heavy hitters, especially at the tough to fill forward spots. And I'm like, all right, done for the year. Let's roll the dice and see if we can do this. And ultimately, I got some luck and got it done. But I'm not really worried about that because he had frankly played the tough guy card where he hurt the ankle, came back earlier than we all expected. Wow, look at this young fella, with a crap team, right? And then got hurt again and then was trying to struggle and get back again. It was like, this guy loves the game. He really wants to play. So I kind of looked at that glass half full, not glass half empty, even though he wasn't on the wood. But to me, to get up to that, like a second round type of situation, that's where the fantasy gold is. That's where the shot blocking is. That's where the steal, the 2 per game steal guys are. That's where like a Fred VanVleet is, right? Where you're getting 3 threes. And last year the steals were weird from VanVleet, but like up in Toronto, his steals were fantastic. And I don't know if I look at VanVleet as a second round guy this year, but I probably do look at him as a third round guy. But look, as you go deep, as you round, the fantasy gold dissipates with each passing round. And so for Jalen Johnson, I am not looking at him as a second round guy because I don't know that he is going to bring all of that love to the box score. I know the box score is going to look really good. He's going to be flirting with 20 and 10s. He's going to be flirting with a block a game, flirting with a steal a game, flirting with a 3 a game. But is he going to be flirting with 2 blocks a game, 2 steals per game, 2 threes per game? That's too much of a leap of faith for me with Jalen Johnson.
I when I watch him, I think, what if he has a better off the dribble game and he can rise and fire and shoot because he's got this size. He's already got the framework, of a passing big that you can run offense through him more than just like a dribble handoff or screen and roll type of guy. If he can ever get that, I think that changes the entire discussion around him because then he might become extraordinarily dynamic and start to reach up into even higher territory. But you're right, Cam, the stuff, with the bad defensive numbers in fantasy, not getting blocks out of your center, the hype, there's a lot of reasons to tap the brakes here a little bit. It's going to be close for me. It's going to be hard not to pick him. I've got such a soft spot in my heart with how much he carried teams prior to the injuries. And I hate Kyle Kuzma for what he did to him. And I'll just leave it at that. That brings us to the biggest segment release of all time. It's the buy low, sell high segment that we are now going to be doing on this show. It's a little bit different. There's a lot of buy low, sell high out there, but basically when we say buy low, we mean that you are interested in it. So if somebody's buying low, you're interested in it, you like it. If you're selling high on this, you're not interested, you don't like it. We'll get to that right after the break. All right, we're back. And so we talked about Josh Giddey earlier, and we really covered a lot on him. So let's get a little bit more narrow on this because this is, I think, one of a maybe top 5, 10 fantasy topics of the draft season here. His ADP last season was 62. We're talking about 8 cat formats or 9 cat formats. Let's go 9 cat formats here. Are you buying low or selling high on Josh Giddey as a top 60 per game player? Doc, you're up.
Oh, dude, I'm so hung up on the whole buy low, sell high thing because I was told we weren't allowed to say that anymore in the industry. And some of the people that I've worked for in the past are like, you're not going to do that. You can't say handcuff. You can't call a player a stud. You can't do this. You can't do that. And I'm like, well, that's stupid. I mean, I don't understand what's going on. So, yeah, I didn't even hear what you said. I think it was related to Josh Giddey. I'm buying Josh Giddey. I am.
You're just buying no matter what. I could have said anything and you were buying.
I'm
Josh
buying
Giddey,
him.
top 30 player.
I'm buying Josh Giddey.
Josh Giddey, top 20 player.
Was it a buy low or sell high situation? I don't even know what your question was.
Josh Giddey showing up at your house and mowing your lawn, buying low. Okay, let's get a more balanced opinion. Let's get a balanced opinion here, Rick. Top 60, man. This is a tough line to cross. That's a 5th round pick. Is he going to make it?
Yeah, I'm selling high on this, man. I am. Doc said it. It's all
5th round.
I'm selling high on this. I don't want Giddey in the 5th round because again, this is one of my.
You won't get him in the 5th round because I'm going to take him in the 5th round. Rick.
Yeah.
So don't worry about it.
Yeah. So I need pillars in the 5th round. I need guys where I know what they're going to do, rather than like a theory. Okay, because Josh Giddey's a theory right now. We don't know how he's going to fit in with all of these guys. But Doc hit it. It's all on Levine. I don't think that they're going to be able to trade him. They've been trying all off season. The second apron is completely sticking him to that Chicago roster because they want him out. They want to get their Cooper flag on, but they can't because of the second apron and the worst CBA currently in sports. This dumb, dreadful CBA that we have, which is bad for the players. I'll just check up right there. But I think Zach LaVine's going to have a big year. He hears the chatter. He knows everybody's talking about him and Donovan. And so he's going to be like out there like ticked off and with a chip on his shoulder. And that's going to take the ball out of Giddey's hands. That's going to put Giddey in a catch and shoot situation, probably more than he needs to be. So not one of my top 5 players, like in maybe a 12-team, regular style format. No, I'm selling high.
Yeah, if this is a 9-cap format, and I'm pretty sure it is, I can't do it. I'll sell high because I think that provides too much of a ceiling on his value. And if all goes right, all goes well, he will turn the ball over more. Who knows? Maybe you're punting those things. I don't know, but I want a little bit more upside out of a player that's got that kind of a price tag. So I'm going to sell high.
Weren't we taking Giddey in like round 4 or 5 2 years ago?
Yes.
Or did I imagine that?
I think he's been going at this ADP of 62 the entire time he's been in the NBA.
I'm so
but
literally.
But that was no.
Cannot wait for this.
But that was no Chet. That was no Chet. That was no J-Dub. Okay, right? That's the honeymoon phase after being, what was he, the 6th overall pick? I think now, like, this is the reality. Like, we know who Josh Giddey is. And you know what I mean? Like, could he, develop a little bit from here? Yeah, but he was the guy. Like, I mean, he and SGA were the guys on that team without a lot of competition. And there's a lot of competition for Giddey, I think, in Chicago.
Yeah, that's going to be a very. Oh, sorry, Doc. Go ahead.
I was just not like there was in OKC, and you're right. There's no Chet Holmgren anymore. There's no SGA. There's no Jalen. Like, I get it. I get it, but I cannot wait to draft Josh Giddey on every single team I have.
One other.
Doc's all about that rock and roll hair that the Giddey's got, man. He's all about that rock and roll hair.
He just flips it around. Doc swoons. Yeah, no, it's. He also had SGA was faded that first year as well. Everybody faded SGA, and then he just became the best player in the NBA practically. Mikal Bridges ended the season at 88 and 40 in totals. So are you guys buying low or selling high on Mikal as a 4th round player? Cam, you're up.
Oh, this is sell high all the way. If you put 5th round on this, I'd be selling. I don't think Mikal Bridges gets to 20 points per game. I don't think he gets to 5 rebounds a game. I don't think he gets to 3 assists per game. I think he's barely going to be at a steal per game. I don't think he's going to get to 2 threes per game. So this is a big time sell high for me.
Doc, are you going to echo that?
Yeah, I kind of wish we were talking about him in like the 6th or 7th round, because then I think it becomes a discussion like, do I want Mikal Bridges on my fantasy teams? Absolutely, I do. Do I want him in the 4th or 5th round? Absolutely, I don't. So I love guys who play every night, and he does. And I love his counting stats will add up by the end of the year, but I don't want him in the 4th or 5th. I want him. Will I take him in round 6? I think I will. Would I love to have him in round 7? Absolutely. I'm not reaching for him. He's not one of my guys. I'm not reaching a round or 2 ahead to get him.
Yeah, I mean, this is tough for me. He's been on my list forever, and he goes now and plays for a coach that would take a guy like him, play him 87 games, play him 40 minutes a game if he could. This got Mikal Bridges' name written all over it, if not for all of the great points that you guys and everybody else has made regarding the fact that he's going to be kind of on the outside looking in a little bit on the offense. The one thing I'm watching for and curious about is if he can translate all of that free time he's going to have on the basketball court to some crazy defensive numbers. That might revitalize that portion of his game. That's the part of the game that's been a little bit frustrating for him, is just seeing, even, I mean, within last year's malaise, but just in general, those numbers kind of come back down to earth a little bit, probably because of the additional workload on the offensive side. So that I'll be watching for. I'm going to sell him as a 4th round player and then hope he falls like a rock. Let's see here. We got 2 more to go. Let's combine them so we can get this show on the road here. We got Jordan Poole, ADP 51 last season, 103 rank. You'd have thought that was a 203 rank by the way folks just threw their controllers on the ground and just got very upset about their pick. You got Bogdanovich as well. He was a sleeper last season, ADP 129, rank 75 last season. So, Doc, are you buying low, selling high on these 2 players? In the case of Poole, are you buying, I guess, him in general? Let's keep it to a general. Are you buying a Jordan Poole bounce back? And what are you doing with Bogdan? Are you on the train or are you off the train?
Well, I was all in on Jordan Poole last year, and I got burned. I got burned badly. I do like the fact that he finished up the season kind of strong. He looked better the second half than he did the first half. Is he on my never again list? Usually when I get burned, as you know, with like a guy like Zion Williamson, I'm like, never again. I'm never doing that again. I'll go back to the Jordan Poole, so to speak. I will go back to Jordan Poole. Well, I'm cool with him. I think he is going to be low enough ADP wise that he's going to be, he's got serious potential to be a value pick, I think. So I'm okay with Jordan Poole if I get him late enough. And then as far as Bogdan Bogdanovich, I mean, I love Bogey. No DeJounte. Perfect compliment to Jalen Johnson and Trey. I will probably have Bogdan on a lot of my teams. And if Jordan Poole falls to me in the 7th or 8th round, I'll take him. I'm just not taking him in whatever I did last year, which was 3rd, 4th round. Like, come on, Doc.
Painful. Yeah. So Bogey, I'm in on Bogey. I'm just curious where he's going to go. And then Jordan, I mean, the bounce back's just sitting there waiting for him. I mean, everybody got burnt, and I'm be interested to see where he starts falling in drafts. But I'm curious if there's something going on upstairs with him where he's not going to show up as like not an NBA player, but he just, for whatever reason, his head's not in the game. I mean, I've seen too many weird examples of that. Reading between the lines with what other players are saying and just the stuff on the floor. It's just like, man, where are you at? So I'm not encouraged by that. I don't think it's a guarantee that he brings that level of play to this upcoming season. But what do you think, Cam?
Okay. First of all, I want to, give Doc a shoulder to cry on here with my Wemby jersey. But don't actually cry, Doc, because this is a Wemby jersey, okay? We got to, let's not sully it. look, I took a massive L on NBA radio with Antonio Daniels. He still brings it up. This L lingers like the remember the blowout loss that Phoenix suffered at home in Game 7 a couple of years ago in the second round in Dallas, right? We're still talking about that. It was such an epic loss. I said on NBA radio, Jordan Poole, when he goes, he was with Golden State at the time. I said, when he goes to a team, probably a bad team, and he is unleashed with all the shots and all the usage rate that he wants, he's going to become a 25-point per game guy. And I felt really good about that. And then last year happened. And Antonio Daniels reminded me of that prediction and of the results. Okay. Massive L for me. I do have planned, I don't know if it'll be tomorrow, sometime in the future here, we are going to talk about Jordan Poole because I have an idea about Jordan Poole. It's my idea, not Brian Keefe's idea. My idea is for the Washington Wizards to put Jordan Poole on the ball. Oh, why not? What the hell else do you have to do? You got to put Corey Kispert on the ball. You got to put trade Malcolm Brogdon for the love of orange. What else do you have to do? Tyus Jones is gone, okay? Put Jordan Poole on the ball. Let him face plant, surge, score 50. Who knows? Okay? He looked good on the ball when Steph was out in Golden State, didn't he? And I know it's a curse system, all the infrastructure, but this Jordan Poole coming off the bench for Washington makes no sense at all. Like, they've already given up on Jordan Poole? Are you kidding me? He should give up on them and ask for a trade. Like, that's lunacy to me. Put him on the dang ball. See if you got something there, right? Tried him at the starting two. It didn't work. Brought him off the bench. It didn't work. Start him at the one. What do you have to lose? So, again, it's a theory. But what if they do that? And what if Poole starts going 22, 5, and 5 with 3 threes a game? And a steal per game. I'm with Doc. I am it's late, right? It's the dice roll. It's okay. I'm not really getting the tickle of any of these guys as the draft scrolls and names are coming off. I'm taking Jordan Poole at that point. And if it sucks, then I'll drop him 3 games in. Okay. Doc knows, Bru, and you'll find this out about me. Dude, I got a sledgehammer, man. I have a very short fuse, very little amount of patience. I'm not a guy that's just going to let it breathe, okay? If you are not helping me dominate and throat dudes right now, I'm probably moving on from you. But I think it's at least I'll start the journey with Poole, and I'll cut bait pretty quickly if it doesn't work. I'll make this quick on Bogey. I'm with Doc. I love Bogey Bogdanovich this year. Love him, okay? Not like it's the top of drafts, but late in drafts. I think a lot of people are like, Bogey Bogdanovich, like, yeah. I think people sleep on this, okay? He's a 15-point per game guy every year, okay? And I think he can get up to – he was 17 last year. I think we could get up to 18, 19 this year with Bogey Bogdanovich. He's always around 3 threes per game, which is an elite total. Last year he was at 3. The year before he was at 2.7, 2.7, 3.3, 2.7. Hello? Okay, that's fantastic. And then the steals. His steals have gone 1, 1, 1.1, 1.1, 0.8, 1.2 last year. He's a fantasy gold guy, all right? He doesn't block shots. That's fine. But I see him hovering around 20 a game. He's probably going to enter the starting 5 for Atlanta this year with Trey, with Risashe, with Jalen, and with Capella. And so I think we're probably going to get the best year of Bogey Bogdanovich's career. I'm very high on him this year.
My God, I can't believe Andre buried this segment at the end of this podcast. This is the gold that people are looking for. I want one more bite at the apple here. I'm going to say a round. Jordan Poole, 6th round, yes or no? Cam, you're up.
Too high. It's too high. That's not dice rollville for me. I'm with Doc. I'm more like round 8, round 9, like where the pickings are getting slim. Round 6 is too high for me for Jordan Poole.
Doc.
Late 7, I will be looking for Jordan Poole. I doubt I look at him in the 6th.
I just want Hard Knocks to join the NBA and watch and follow these Washington Wizards. I want to see Jordan Poole arguing with Kyle Kuzma about the issues of the day. Give that to me. Put it in my veins. Let's go. Okay. All right. We could be here all day. This has been an amazing first episode. Thank you so much, Rick, for joining and
My pleasure.
injecting
Thank
the
you guys,
energy
man.
and the intel into this show. Steve, you had like 10 quotes that Andre is trying to put up online right now.
Well, I just gotta say, dude, like this is gonna be fun, and I like it. It's so natural and it's so fun, and like we all know a lot about fantasy hoops, and I can't wait, man. I feel like I'm gonna learn. I can't wait till we all draft together. Like that's gonna be funny.
I don't want to. You guys are going to be very tough competition, and well, I do want to. And Cam Dynasty, I believe I have an invite to that, or was it League Freak? I don't know.
No, check it out. Bru, if a spot opens in Cam Dynasty, you're going to be you're first on the waiting list, okay? I don't know if that spot's going to open up. But just quickly here, because I know we got to wrap this up. Let's talk about this next pod, or we can text about it. But I want to start. Tell me if this is an ishy idea or not. I want to start another dynasty league, okay? Because I'm obsessed with dynasty leagues. With you, Bru, with Doc, with Andre, with the other members of the Sports Ethos Fantasy Basketball family that I don't know yet, because we need a league, okay? We need a league that we can talk about and talk trash about. And, hey, I got Bru this week, man, and all that kind of stuff. But we need a league here amongst us. And I'm willing to fire it up and get it all going. And I want to make it a dynasty league, okay? I don't want to just do a redraft thing. So do you guys think I'm nuts? Do you think I'm onto something?
Yes and yes. Yes and yes. Yes and yes. You're nuts and onto something, and I want to see you bring the bongos to next show.
I just can't wait to get into another Fantrax league. Like I'm so psyched.
Bro, this guy, and Doc,
I'm the biggest competitor in the world, right?
Doc, Bru, do you hate Fantrax? Are you okay with Fantrax? Where are you at with Fantrax?
Hey, whatever. They do this weird thing where your lineup's not good, and I'm okay. I'm okay with being mad about it because you set the little auto thing, and then your lineup gets screwed up 5 days down the road. You didn't know about it. Wah 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 wah. That's the part I don't like. Everything else is kind of okay.
Yeah, but it's the same thing in Yahoo. If you hit, set your lineup for the whole week and then you make a pickup, then it retoggles it and you got to go in there and redo it. So
that is the most infuriating thing ever.
But it's the same on Yahoo leagues as it is on Fantrax. That's not a Fantrax thing. And I love Yahoo leagues.
I can at least get my boomer mind around what's going on at Yahoo. Like I've got that figured out.
How many times have you guys had this argument? At least 13.
He hates Fantrax. He hates it. I like Fantrax.
He just texts me out of the middle of nowhere at like 1 a.m. He's like, hey, Fantrax. That's it.
He literally texts me in the middle of the night. Bro, do you have it's like you're psychic or something. It'll be 2:13 a.m. and I'm like, oh my gosh, I got to go to sleep. And I'll get a text from Doc because we're night owls. And he'll go, I hate Fantrax. I'm like, Doc was there. He goes trying to make a pickup or something, hating on Fantrax. Bru, I can't believe you said that because he literally sends me those random ass texts in the middle of the night.
I don't like you guys.
Yeah, you love us. Okay,
love you, Doc.
Let's get out of here on that note. Okay, so we have a ton of huge surprises for you guys this season. We just released the NBA draft guide, so go check that out. You could actually check that out for free and just see the bones of it, see exactly what pieces are in it. You're going to get Doc's guys this season. You're going to get an article from Rick Kamla. Holy moly, the B150. We just won a ton of high stakes contests last season with that thing. Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours of effort being put into that currently. I'm in the middle of that production right now. So there's just so much going on here right now. I can't even begin to start. So keep an eye out for what we're doing here at sportsethos.com. And we're going to get out of here. So thank you guys. Thanks, Steve. Thank you, Rick. Thank you, Andre, for running an amazing show. You're the backbone of this thing. And you're just doing an amazing job for us here and elsewhere at Sports Ethos. Thank you to the listeners for all of your great feedback. Let us know how we can be better at what we're doing. That's going to be it. This has been Fantasy NBA Today, presented by Bet Online, a Sports Ethos presentation. Until next time, ladies and gentlemen, be well.